So you start off with Adam and Eve, and basically you eat the fruit and then you're shamed to be naked. So what do you have to do? You have to put on some clothes. So in the beginning of time, right in the beginning, we're basically told that our nudity is a shame. And so thankfully, we have linens and cottons and bamboos, and our first history of linen is actually 8,000 BC. So we are taught from the Bible, basically, that we have to start clothing ourselves. So luckily, the earth and the things on our earth are able to clothe us. So we have the lovely, beautiful Angora bunny, silkworms, sheep, and alpacas, and all of the things that they produce pretty much produce what we end up wearing. We traditionally think of textiles and things like that and wearables as something that is very native and something that is very traditional and something that an Indian would make. And then with time and with things, although these are still happening and you can find like traditional Peruvians, the typical thing that we think of a sweater is like something like this. So now we have all kinds of parties thrown around all over the world about the ugly sweater and how I'm actually a knitwear designer and everyone thinks I make that. But we have new designers like Sandra Backlund who do very interesting things with knitwear, and something that is typically just a handmade thing turns into something sculptural and put on the body, and something that totally exceeds what our limitations are and what we think of. And then we have artists like Nick Cave who make sound pieces, and actually every single piece of these are put on the body, and once they're moved in, they make tons of sounds. And with this, he's made an extremely eclectic collection of work that spans museums and everything. So it goes into high fashion, and we have Alexander McQueen taking traditional crochet and making it something quite unique and quite spectacular. Something that becomes haute couture is now, like, before thought of as something that your grandmother would make, now turns into this. This is a spectacular artist, and he actually takes traditional Nigerian fabrics and turns them into something of a colonial dress. And you see that their heads are decapitated, and it has this idea and this iconic graphic image of slavery. This is Grayson Perry, who is also a cross-dresser. He's actually straight and an amazing and prolific artist. A majority of his work has to do with craft, and he does phenomenal tapestries talking about his history and his background, as well as pottery. And we all know Missoni, and Missoni is like worldwide known for their knitwear. And they've actually gone through, they're mainly known for their fashion, but they've actually started doing hotels and interiors and things that have really translated from fashion to what you see there. This is Kay Fassett, who used to work for Missoni. I just visited him the other day and went to his house where every single floor is covered in his work. He takes something that's quite traditional in quilt work and actually makes and plays with color fragments and puts together things that are really interesting. This is Tracy Emin, and she takes words and turns them into quilts. And this is something completely different. This is not what your grandmother would make. Maybe in a couple of years she would make it, because then it would be Tracy Emin's age. But, you know, when Helter Skelter and fucking off is like, you know, what you put in a quilt, it's totally taking it out of context. This is an artist from Miami, a good friend of mine. She's actually taking and taken apart teddy bears and made rugs out of it. The traditional work of quilt work made into and out of nice, soft, cushy teddy bears. This is one of your own, a Portuguese artist, Joana Vasconcelos, who does amazing craft work and amazing artwork, mainly installation works that are crochets, and then as well as monumental art pieces. With this, like, there's been a huge resurgence of craft, and now we've gone into like knit bombing. So people have been going around all over the world covering trees, bridges, buses, things all over the streets, covering them with actual quilt work. I used to go by this and drive by this every day when I was in elementary school. This is Christo's work. They were pink fabric that lined about 13 islands in Biscayne Bay in Miami Beach. This is another example of knit bombing. This is an artist called Oleg, and this is in New York City at the Wall Street Bull. So this got a lot of attention when it happened. And then, this is an amazing Japanese artist that her therapy was basically repetition. And she actually did a collaboration with Louis Vuitton last year. Kusuma is an incredible artist. She's actually very, very ill and always has nurses around her. But she became very famous for this repetition. And the future of fashion, this is actually my work. And this piece glows in UV and glows in the dark. And so what's interesting is that things that are so traditional can actually turn into something very technologically inclined. So things that glow in the dark and go, fiber optics, the world, you never know what's going to happen next. Thank you.